The restaurant was buzzing softly with the gentle hum of conversations, clinking glasses, and muted background music. Yet for Ethan Miller, everything felt painfully quiet. He sat alone at the neatly set table near the window, staring at the empty chair across from him. The cold silverware reflected his own disappointment. His blind date, someone he had dared to hope might bring a new beginning, was already 30 minutes late. For a man who had spent years teaching himself to expect nothing from people, the emptiness of that seat felt like an old wound reopening. And just when he thought the night couldn't feel any more hollow, the front door opened and a young woman stepped inside holding the hand of a little girl, her eyes shy, nervous, and quietly apologetic without even knowing him. Before the story continues, dear viewers, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected moments, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support brings these emotional stories to life. Ethan's gaze lifted instinctively, not because he thought she was his date, but because something in her posture pulled at the heart, like someone walking into a place they weren't sure they belonged. The woman, Grace Harper, looked gracefully delicate in a soft blouse tucked into simple jeans, her brunette hair tied back neatly, though a few strands fell near her face as if framing her quiet exhaustion. Her little girl, Lily, hugged her mother's hand tightly, half hiding behind her leg. They both looked uncertain, as though they expected to be turned away from the warmth of the restaurant at any moment. Grace whispered something to the hostess, but from her body language, it was clear she didn't have a reservation. Maybe she was hoping for a quick meal, maybe she was hoping for a place to breathe, or maybe, like Ethan, she was simply trying to survive another day that had drained her heart a little more than usual. Ethan didn't know why he couldn't look away. Maybe it was the way Grace seemed painfully aware of her surroundings, as if she had already endured enough judgment for a lifetime. Maybe it was how she instinctively pulled her child closer whenever someone walked by. Or maybe it was simply the loneliness of two strangers crossing paths at the exact moment they needed each other without knowing it. The hostess politely informed Grace that the restaurant was nearly full, and the wait time would be long. Grace nodded with a tight smile, but her shoulders dropped slightly, revealing how much even that small setback hurt. She turned to Lily and gently stroked her hair, whispering something soft, probably comforting her, hiding her own disappointment as mothers often do. And that tiny gesture, that effort to protect her daughter from the weight of adult struggles, stirred something deep inside Ethan. He knew that look. His own mother, before her passing, used to wear the same gentle but breaking expression whenever life cornered her. That memory moved Ethan in a way he wasn't expecting tonight. Before he knew it, he stood up. Grace's eyes widened slightly, unsure whether he was approaching out of kindness or complaint. Ethan could see the question in her expression. Why is this stranger coming toward me? As he reached her, he didn't speak. He simply gestured gently toward his table. Grace stared at him with confusion, her breath catching subtly. She placed her hand lightly on her chest, as if steadying herself, unsure how to respond. Lily peeked from behind her, her big eyes filled with innocent curiosity. That was the moment everything shifted. When Grace realized he wasn't asking for anything or assuming anything, only offering kindness, her face softened into something fragile and grateful. People who carry heavy stories often aren't used to simple generosity. Ethan could see that in her eyes. He returned to his table, and after a moment's hesitation, she followed with Lily. Grace apologized softly. The kind of apology people give when they're used to feeling like a burden, even though they never are. Ethan didn't judge. He didn't question. He didn't pry. He simply understood. As they sat, the air around the table filled with a strange mixture of awkwardness and quiet safety, the kind that grows between strangers who recognize an invisible hurt in each other. Grace shared bits of her story as the evening unfolded. Not all at once, just pieces, like someone afraid of giving too much away. She lived in Seattle now, raising her daughter alone after her husband abandoned them 2 years earlier. Life had been a constant uphill battle ever since. Working 2 jobs, balancing daycare, struggling to pay rent, all while trying to protect Lily from the reality of their hardships. But what broke Ethan the most wasn't the struggle. It was how Grace talked about love as if it weren't meant for her anymore. As if motherhood had replaced her right to affection. As if the world had already made up its mind that she didn't deserve help. Ethan listened intently, his heart pulling tighter with every detail. He wasn't wealthy or powerful. But he knew loneliness deeply, and he knew how life could chip away at someone's hope. His own failed relationships, childhood trauma, and years of emotional isolation had shaped him into someone who rarely let others in. Yet here, tonight, with Grace sitting across from him and Lily drawing circles with her tiny finger on the edge of the table, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Connection. The waiter brought water and menus, and Ethan noticed how Grace's hand instinctively reached for her purse, checking her wallet out of habit. A quiet panic flickering across her features. She didn't order anything. She didn't want to seem like she expected anything. But the way her eyes lowered said enough. Ethan gently eased the tension by suggesting they all share something small. He phrased it casually so she wouldn't feel pressured, but Grace still hesitated. She probably hadn't eaten since earlier that day, yet she put Lily first, always Lily first. When the food arrived, Lily's face lit up and Grace relaxed just a little. The restaurant suddenly didn't feel too big or too bright for her. She sat a little straighter. Her tiredness softened into something gentler, almost hopeful. Ethan soaked in every detail. How she cut Lily's food first, how she smiled apologetically whenever Lily got too excited, how she brushed her hair back whenever she felt nervous. She was beautiful, not in a glamorized, unrealistic way, but in the raw, fragile, honest way life-shaken women often are. As the evening stretched on, something unspoken formed between them. Grace's shy glances became warmer. Ethan's loneliness faded into something lighter. Lily started giggling over tiny things, and soon the table felt like a small island where all 3 of them were allowed to breathe. But just when the night seemed like a quiet miracle, Grace's phone buzzed. Her expression changed instantly. Fear, responsibility, worry. It was her boss from the evening shift. She had forgotten she was supposed to come in early tonight because someone else had called out she couldn't lose the job. She'd already had too many warnings. Her hands trembled as she gathered Lily's things. Trying to hide the panic rising inside her, Ethan saw the tremor. He saw the way her eyes glistened. She didn't want to leave. She didn't want the moment to end. But life had taught her that dreams didn't pay bills. She stood quickly, thanking Ethan with a small, apologetic bow of her head. Lily waved her tiny hand. Grace whispered, almost too quietly to hear, that this had been the first peaceful dinner she'd had with her daughter in months, and then she turned away. But before she reached the door, Ethan found his own courage. He got up, walked to her, and gently placed a note in her hand. Not money, not charity, just his number, written with shaking honesty, and a short line telling her she didn't have to face the world alone, even if she chose to. Grace looked at him, her shy eyes filling with something delicate and deep, something that looked dangerously close to hope. She didn't promise anything. She didn't say anything. But she held his number carefully, as if it meant more than he realized. As she walked out into the evening light with Lily leaning against her side, Ethan returned to his table. He watched them leave with a strange ache in his chest, because somehow a simple meal had turned into the beginning of something neither of them expected. And for the first time in years, Ethan didn't feel alone. If this emotional journey touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us bring more real, inspiring stories to life. Before the ending, please comment below. True kindness always finds its way back. Grace didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Ethan didn't know if she would call. But both of them walked away changed. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet belief formed. Perhaps love doesn't always arrive dressed in perfection. Sometimes it walks into a restaurant nervously, holding a child's hand, and changes everything.